So you're playing Wuthering Waves, you're doing some 10 pulls on the current banner, and you get 5-star Camellya. Now, what do you get with Camellya besides, well, she's the crazy. That's the best way to put it, right? Well, Camellya is a Havoc-wielding sword user. I don't know if that actually fits in this. That's how I start the kitchen videos. And in this video, we're going to look at the basics of Camellya. Now, buckle in. This is going to be a longer video. This is like my second or third time trying to record this because I keep forgetting things in her kit to talk about. So hopefully this will be the last time. Now, I do normally make Genshin content. So if this is your first time seeing Wuthering Waves, there's going to be a couple of things that I'm going to have to quickly touch on through the explanation. But I have another video, I think I have another video, going into more detail as to the differences between like Genshin and Wuthering Waves. So you might want to go check that out before you watch this video. Anyway, let's get into how Camellya's kit works. In a weird way, to kind of wrap it up really quick at the very beginning before we go into detail, Camellya wants to use her forte gauge to build stacks of pistol, like a flower, so you can stamen in a pistol, stacks of pistols. So when you activate her ephemeral mode, I think I'm saying that right, I might be getting some letters mixed up, ephemeral mode, then it is going to increase the amount of damage that she does through her normal attacks. The way that you increase her forte gauge is by using outro skill of the other character and the intro skill of Camellya, as well as getting her concerto energy maxed out to then enter ephemeral mode. So her forte is kind of complicated to explain. There's a lot of text. So let's start from the beginning with her normal attacks. Now, I'm going to use standard mode for the white hair Camellya, and then blossom mode for red hair Camellya, and then E mode for ephemeral Camellya, right? That's what I'm going to use, those three words, because I'm going to get them confused if I don't. Now, in normal mode, white haired mode, right? Her normal attacks are going to do havoc damage, and then whenever you do a, she's gonna pull out her sword, she's gonna swing her sword, she's gonna swing her vines, and whenever you do a charged attack or a heavy attack, she's gonna kind of spin this way, dealing damage to enemies like right here, right? Like, so it's not a massive AoE, but it's still gonna hit multiple enemies. If you use her skill, she is then going to go into that like silk ceiling artist mode, where we are now going to be in blossom mode. Her hair is going to change to red, and she is going to be swinging from a vine that looks like the silk ceiling artist's silk rope. In this mode, you can't really walk. If you try to move around, you have to like sprint, and she's going to kind of swing to where you want to go. But if you just hit like WASD, like WASD, you're not going to move. She's just going to hang there. So make sure you keep that in mind. In this mode, you're still going to be using her normal attacks and her heavy attacks. Now she changes the animation to where instead of spinning this way now, it's spinning this way. So she has a much bigger AoE whenever it comes to hitting enemies. Now, the damage that comes from her basic mode normal attacks and her blossom mode normal attacks aren't quite the same. They're still both havoc damage, but they don't go off of the same talent as we would call it in Genshin. But we'll talk more about that later on in the video. Now, I think I said this, but I'm going to say it now. The way that you kind of swap between regular and blossom mode is by using her skill, right? So you're going to hit her skill, she's going to do an instance of damage, and then she's going to swap hair color. If your hair is red, if she's in blossom mode and you hit spacebar, it will also cancel that mode, doing an instance of havoc damage and then swapping her back to normal mode. So skill takes her into blossom mode, skill or spacebar or jump takes her back to normal mode. That's the best way to think about it. That's the way to swap between the two modes. Now, her burst. Her burst is just going to do an instance of havoc damage as well as giving you a little bit, about 20, concerto energy. What is concerto energy? Well, concerto energy is the circle next to the HP bar. It has the havoc symbol in it. So whenever her burst is ready, if you need like a little bit more to fully charge it, you can use her burst to get, I think, 20 concerto energy. And that's really what her burst is there for, is to, if you need a little bit more energy in there, you can use it and then fill the gauge. Because most of her damage is not going to come from her burst, most of it is going to come through her forte, which is where we get into the complicated area of Wuthering Waves. Now, forte is this character's, the best way to describe it is their kit, the thing that they do different from every other character. And every character is going to have this bar above their HP that is called their forte gauge. And this is directly related to what the forte circuit does. Now, you notice through all of those attacks, we were not charging this forte gauge. So how do you charge the forte gauge for Camellya? Well, really the only way to do it, for sakes of right now in this video, is by using Camellya's intro skill, which, if you're not familiar with that, if you go to another character and you charge their concerto energy, when you swap to another character, the character taking the field will do what's called an intro skill, and the character leaving the field will do an outro skill. Typically, the outro skill is going to be something like healing or buffing or just an extra instance of damage. We want Camellya to take the field with another character's full concerto circle, and she's going to do a different animation, do an instance of havoc damage, but her bar is going to be full. Now that we have the bar full, what do? Well, we're going to do Camellya's normal attacks in either form to then deplete the bar. And then we're going to get this little mark above that is going to be her pistol stack. That's what I'm going to call it. Like how a flower has a stamen and a pistil. The more normal attacks that we do, the more that these stacks go up to 10. What this is going to do is that whenever we enter her third mode, it is going to increase the damage in that mode. So you're still with me, right? We're going to do an intro skill to get the forte gauge full. We're going to do normal attack in either standard mode or blossom mode to deplete the forte gauge to then increase the amount of pistol stacks that we have. While we're doing those normal attacks to increase the pistol stacks, you're going to notice that we're charging her concerto energy, that circle, which is, like we said, used to go to another character and do the outro skill. But we don't necessarily want to do that with Camellya, at least the first time. Now, once you have the concerto energy fully charged, you're going to notice that her skill icon is going to change. And whenever we hit her skill icon with this, it's going to enter what is a pheromone mode. Now, I've said this word wrong a lot, so I'm just going to call it E mode. So we have standard, blossom, and E mode. When you enter E mode, it is going to do a large amount of havoc damage, a ton of damage, one big hit to anything in its AoE. It's also going to refill the forte gauge. And it's going to take the amount of pistol stacks that you had before and convert it into increased damage for the normal attacks in standard mode and blossom mode. She's going to be doing more damage no matter which mode you're in. It's going to convert those pistol stacks over. So now that we've entered E mode and we've done all of her normal attacks and we've used up all of those stacks that we built earlier, you should have your concerto energy charged again. Now, E mode does have a 25-second cooldown, so it's not like you can go right back into it and just keep doing that damage, right? You do need to swap Camellya off the field. Whenever you have entered E mode and done that damage, and then you're going to swap Camellya off the field with a full concerto, whenever is going to do her outro skill, which is going to do increased damage if you did E mode before you swapped her off the field. So if you want a little bit of extra damage, just make sure that you are, the first time that you have full concerto, you're going to go into E mode. While you're in E mode, it should recharge, should refill, and then at that point, you're going to use her outro skill, swapping another character to do another instance of havoc damage. So you can see she has a few different ways of doing large amounts of damage, as well as very, very consistent high normal attack damage. Okay, so I think that I got through all of that stuff correctly. If I left anything out, let me know, because that's a lot of information to try and get through in a detailed manner. Something that I'm going to remind you, use your Echo beforehand, because it's going to give an extra boost of havoc damage before you go into E mode. Use her burst if you're low on concerto energy and you're like you're ready, you've got the 10 pistol stacks and you need to go into E mode, but you don't quite have it yet, but you aren't building any more because you've got all your 10 pistols and you don't have any more of your forte gauge. Now, something that I did forget to mention that I remembered now, and I'm not going to record this a fifth time. Whenever you are building pistol stacks off of your forte gauge, the amount of concerto energy that you gain from each hit is increased. Side note, I'm not re-recording this. I've re-recorded this thing like 4 times. So if you are with your 10 stacks, your 10 pistol stacks, and you're ready to go into E mode, but your concerto energy is not fully charged, you can't enter E mode yet, but you have your burst, use your burst. It should give you 20 energy, which will hopefully push you over the edge to then use E mode, go through E mode, and then your concerto should be full again, and then you're going to outro skill out to do another instance of damage, right? Now, you might be wondering what kind of stats to build for Camellya. So most of the damage that she does is considered basic attack damage, not normal attack damage, basic attack damage. So if you're looking at her normal attack and her skill talents, if you level up her normal attacks, it is only going to improve the damage with white hair. If you level up the skill, it's only going to improve the damage of red hair. Both of them are still considered basic attack damage. So you So you want to try and get basic attack damage in the substats of your echoes. Now for echoes, you are just going to do the one that's going to increase your havoc damage. You're going to do a main one with crit rate or crit damage, most likely crit damage, because if you have a crit rate weapon, if not, then you want to probably do crit rate. And then you're going to do the main echo that is going to increase your havoc damage even further. Now, for as far as your team goes, I am using Shorekeeper and Sanhua in this team. Shorekeeper to have a healer as well as a crit rate and crit damage buffer, and just an all-around damage buffer. Sanhua, because whenever you use Sanhua's outro skill, it is going to buff basic attack damage, and as we said, Camellya does a ton of basic attack damage. You can put something like Moonlit Echo Set on Sanhua. I use Freezing Frost because my Sanhua does a ton of damage that way, and I'm still able to use her outro skill every rotation. And she's RC6, so she's still giving an attack buff, even though it's not as much. I do have a Moonlit Cloud set for her. I just find myself using the Glacier one more. Now that is going to be it for this video. I don't know if my facial expressions and my body language has changed throughout this video. Like I said, I've tried to record it so many times, so many different cuts, so many variations. I hope I explained it all well enough. If there's something that I missed, put it down in the comments, please. This one takes a lot. And if you want to see more Wuthering Waves stuff, let me know, because I really, really enjoy this game, and I do want to continue making videos and guides on it. So there's nobody in Wuthering Waves yet that I know of, or at least that I have, that has green hair. So I'm going to say Shorekeeper has blue hair. I have green hair, and I'll see you in the next one.